Hey y'all, my name is Tiffany and I am here to talk to you guys about some book series that I think that you might enjoy. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's actually go back in time to get started. And when I say back in time, I mean like the destruction of Pompeii, the bombing of Pearl Harbor, maybe even Hurricane Katrina, the invasion of the Nazis, that sort of back in time. And we're going to start with this series, and I can go ahead and tell you what happens to the main character because it's right in the title. It's called I Survive. So the main character survives whatever this event is, and it's always these huge catastrophic events. So this series is written by Lauren Tarshis, and she writes these books. These are about kids who are around your age who survive these catastrophic events. Like right here we have the Nazi invasion, the Great Chicago Fires, and the Japanese tsunami. And like I said, there's also the destruction of Pompeii and the bombing of Pearl Harbor even. And in the Pearl Harbor book, he ends up moving to Hawaii, Pearl Harbor, and he doesn't want to be there at all. His mom made him move there, and he does not want to be there. But he makes a friend, and that's really important for the story, that he has this friend. And then Pearl Harbor is bombed, and he's right in the middle of it. Like, these kids are always right in the middle of what is happening, and they've either got to get out, find their family, deal with being in the middle of it, and moving on even. And that is the part of that's the important part of this story, because you know what happens. They survived because it's in the title. But how they survive, that is the part that makes these stories so special. This is historical fiction, so you can't use it for a nonfiction book report or anything like that. But there are facts in the book that she gives you at the end. There are suggestions for continuing reading in case you are super into these stories, and you probably will be, because these are really immersive stories. You get to be there with the characters as they survive these catastrophic events, and maybe even learn a thing or two about what to do if you are ever in that situation, to maybe increase your chances of survival too. So moving on from that, we're going to stick with the survive, maybe not survive theme right now. So in I Survived, they survived. Now a story series that you don't know if they survive is Harry Potter. So you might have heard of him. Harry Potter by J.K. Rowling is a 7-book series. I have the first book right here, and this is called The Sorcerer's Stone. And then this is books 2 and 3. And as you can see, they kind of get a little bit bigger as the series progresses. And that's just kind of because more cool stuff happens. The older he gets, the further he goes, more cool stuff happens. So, Harry Potter is an 11-year-old boy who lives with his aunt and uncle who don't necessarily like him that much. I mean, they just don't. Doesn't give much of a reason, at least in the beginning. You do learn why, though. So, on his 11th birthday, Harry Potter finds out this huge secret from this guy named Hagrid. So Hagrid is a half-giant, so he is huge and very large and has a giant beard. One of the most famous lines from this book is, "You're a wizard, Harry." Because Harry finds out he is a wizard on his 11th birthday. And he gets to go to a school called Hogwarts. It's a school for witches and wizards. And it's very much like your school. Okay, kind of. They learn about magic. I don't know, maybe you learn about magic. I never did. But they go to lectures that sometimes they don't want to listen to. And they write really long papers about topics they don't want to write about. And they go to potions, which you probably don't go to potions, but you go to science class. And that's kind of close to the same thing. So, they do all of this stuff that's pretty much like what you do. There's another important part though. Harry Potter is famous. Not because he's awesome at Quidditch, which apparently is a sport played on broomsticks with a bunch of balls. Very violent sounding sport, but sounds awesome, and I know people who play in real life. So, he's famous. He is famous for being the boy who lived. So, as you read through this story, you get to learn why Harry Potter is famous with Harry Potter. Because you see, he didn't know he was famous at all. And so he gets to learn about all of that and kind of come to terms with all of that. At the same time, the guy who tried to kill him and didn't do it the first time wants to finish the job. So you have to read the series to find out if he ever finishes the job. Harry Potter, a lot of good versus evil. Evil dude, super evil. Like, I don't know if you could get more evil than Lord Voldemort, but you might be able to try. So this book series goes on. There is some time travel in one of the books, which I think is super duper awesome because time travel is cool. And there is something called the Tri-Wizard Tournament, which is this huge tournament where like 2 other wizarding schools come. Well, one is a witches school because it's all girls, and one is a wizards because it's like all guys. But they come to Hogwarts and they have a competition, which is awesome because that means there's more than one wizard school. So I didn't get to go to any wizard school, so Harry Potter was a great series to take me there, and it can also take you to Hogwarts to find out if Harry Potter survives. That's a big deal. So, alternate dimensions, like I never got to go to wizard school, so I read Harry Potter to take me there. Another dimension sort of book that I enjoyed that I think you might like if you like to go to other dimensions is called Amulet. And this is Amulet, and it is by Kazu Kibuishi. And I am so sorry if I said that wrong. This is a graphic novel. Let's see, this might work better. There's another one. Okay, and what it means is it is told primarily with graphics, with pictures, with like little speech bubbles and small squares that tell you, that like help set the scene. But otherwise it is told primarily through the use of pictures and speech bubbles. In our library system you can find them because they have these red labels that say graphic novels and have these speech bubbles on them. That makes them really easy to find. So Amulet is about this girl named Emily and her brother Naveen. So this is Emily and this is Naveen. And this guy on the cover, his name is Misfit. He's like a rabbit, bunny, robot thing. I don't know. He is super important to the story though. Super helpful. Very important in the story as it goes on. But at the beginning of the story, Emily and her brother Naveen move into this house with their mom. This old uncle's house that they didn't really know that well. And they don't want to be there at all. And while they are exploring and kind of going off on their own, Emily finds this like necklace, amulet thing, and she ends up pricking her finger and going to this alternate dimension where she accidentally brings her brother Naveen and her mom. So they have to save her mom, and they battle the Elf King, and they save like this group of creatures from destruction. You meet a ton of new friends, some who may be involved with backstabbing. Like, I can't tell you because that would ruin the story, and you kind of have to read it to find out if you, on your own, if, you know, loyalties are tested. Our library currently has 6 of these books. Here are the first 3. They're not super duper long. They are, you know, all graphic novels. Our library system has 6. We will get the 7th one in October. So, that being said, I can't tell you too much about the story. I can tell you that Emily is known as the Stonekeeper. That's actually the title of this first book, Stonekeeper. And it just means that she holds a piece of this amulet. And the stone talks to her. Like, it gives her power. And in return, it kind of wants control. And Emily has to deal with that internally. The balance of getting power and giving control, and what the amulet actually wants to do. Like, what does it want? And Emily has to deal with finding that balance to protect her family and her friends, but also, you know, to not give in to whatever it is that amulet wants. And I can't tell you what that is, partially because I don't want to give away the story. I don't want you to, you know, not read it, because it's a really good series for you to read to find out about how she handles that. And the other reason is because it's not done yet, and I can't tell you something that I don't know about. So, also in that series, one of the really cool things is they take flying ships. The house moves like a robot. Like, it has really long legs and arms, and it walks, and actually it is a robot because they have like a control room and stuff. It's really cool to see the artwork that goes into that. The illustrations show like this giant house moving across the valley, which that in itself is pretty cool. So are the flying ships. Like, her little brother becomes like this super awesome pilot who for some reason is really awesome at flying. Flying's not my thing. His thing, not my thing. So I'm not like super big into flying in things. I'm more of a keep my feet on the ground sort of person. But if I could fly, that would be awesome. Like, when I study Greek mythology and I talk about it, I want to be Hermes. He's the messenger for the gods, and he has these shoes that have wings on them, and that's how he travels. Like, he flies between gods to deliver his messages, and I think that would be awesome. I'm just saying. So, talking about Greek gods, an awesome series about Greek gods is the Percy Jackson and the Olypians series. This is the first one, called The Lightning Thief. It's about this boy named Percy Jackson, and it's written by Rick Riordan and his friends. Not Rick Riordan's friends. It's about Percy Jackson and his friends. There you go. And this is the first book. This is the third and fourth book. I couldn't get book 2. I mean, if you want, we can get it for you, though. They're about the same size. Some of the books get a little bit bigger, but not too much bigger. It's not like Harry Potter where it gets like immensely big as you continue on. So, what we're going to talk about with Percy Jackson is Percy Jackson starts this series off by getting kicked out of boarding school. So, if you're like me and you didn't know what boarding school was right away, boarding school is a school that you live at. You eat there, you sleep there, you shower there, you live in a dorm without your parents at school. I don't know if that's really my thing, but apparently it wasn't Percy's thing either, because he was getting kicked out of boarding school again, as in this has happened before. But apparently this time that is not the biggest part of his concerns, because there are all these monsters and gods from Mount Olympus who are out to get him. They want him for something. Well, that comes to terms with some issues with his family that he didn't know about. See, Percy doesn't know his dad, and in this book he gets to find out about his father and some family history that might have really been important to know. And he gets to deal with that with his friends and everything else, because Zeus's lightning bolt is stolen. And when the king of the gods is mad at you, it's not a good day. So, and I'm going to read this straight from the back cover, so I'm not giving anything away, and you know I'm not telling any lies. Percy and his friends have just 10 days to find and return Zeus's stolen property, that's that missing lightning bolt, and bring peace to a warring Mount Olympus. So, one of the big things about Greek and Roman gods, because they are pretty similar, is that they are always warring. There is always a war brewing for some reason. They can never seem to get along. So if you can bring peace to that, you are doing awesome and having an awesome day. So Percy and his friends have an entire series to try to prevent war from happening on Mount Olympus and learn to deal with all of the, family stuff that Percy learns about. They have an entire series to stop that war from happening, and hopefully get Zeus back his lightning bolt by the end of this book, or else we may need new characters by the second book. I don't know. I haven't read the second book in a very long time, so I cannot actually tell you what happens further on in this series, because I've got all my stuff out of order except for this first book. I remember the first one awesomely. So, one of the great things about this series by Rick Riordan is that it doesn't end, technically. Well, it ends, but it doesn't end. So, Percy Jackson and the Olympians ends, but there is a sequel series called The Heroes of Olympus that also brings in the Roman gods, but it's a sequel to this series. There's also the Trials of Apollo, and Rick also writes about Egyptian mythology and Norse mythology, so maybe Greek gods aren't your thing, but you are all into Thor. I mean, we've got some books for you by the same author that are just as awesome as Percy Jackson for you. So, all of these series that I've talked to you about, except for Amulet, are available on audiobooks as well. So I know you guys are like super busy and you may not have time to sit down and listen to and read your book actually, but you've got time to listen as you do other stuff. And that is the awesome thing about audiobooks, because it is the same story. We do not change the words. We do not mess with the story in the slightest. We don't cut out parts. It is the same exact story as what you will read yourself. So if you are super busy and that's what we can do for you, that is awesome. So these are some really awesome book series for you. We've got I Survived, Harry Potter, Amulet, and Percy Jackson's and the Olypians series for you today. If there are any series that you want to know more about, let us know. If there is a series you think that we could benefit from reading and you think it would be awesome if we read it too, let us know. We're always looking for great books to read and great books to share with everybody. So I hope you guys have a great day.